Hi conservation crew, and welcome to another Nature Diaries. We're still in Wales and we're still in the Snowdonia National Park, but today's going to be something a little bit different as we head down to the Osprey Project. So we don't know much about this project, but we think they're trying to attract ospreys to the area, or maybe even rewild ospreys to the area. So the aim of today is actually find out more about this project and also let you guys know about it. And fingers crossed we might see some cool wildlife too. So we're on the way to the otters, but we got distracted by this lovely beach, and apparently you can get pods of dolphins coming off here, so we're going to have a stroll along the promenade and see what we can find. So fingers crossed. Well guys, we found no cetaceans, but we did make it to the Osprey Project, and we've been told that there's some actually nesting here, so we're quite excited. Now 100 years ago these birds were pretty much wiped out across the UK, but now a century later they are bouncing back with around 400 pairs in the country, or in the kingdom. Most of them are up in Scotland, and there's been a few translocations in England, so there's the first nesting pair there for over a century I think. In Wales there's still just an handful of nests, and thankfully we're at one of them, so fingers crossed we can go and find some ospreys. Well, we've arrived, and just our luck, we were speaking to the lady who was letting us in, and the ospreys have gone missing. Naughty little ospreys, it looks like they've gone out practicing fishing, but we're going to remain optimistic and have a look. But we're on such a beautiful reserve anyway. Because there is a small admission price, I think it was £6, but it costs 600,000 a year to run this place, so we don't mind paying that. But because there is a little admission price and you have to book in because of coronavirus, it's very quiet, very few people here. So we're going to head up to the observatory. Laura's getting the camera ready there, polishing away.
Oh, it's covered in sun cream.
And we'll see if we can find them. It's nice as well because it's not just the ospreys here. It looks like they've done quite a lot of replanting of trees. There's a bit of scrubland, lots of young birch have been put in, and several other trees. It's also a sign where they've restored a little bit of wetland, which we'll get some film of later. And apparently the habitat's managed for common lizards as well. So this is quite cool. We've just come across a fenced off wetland area, and there's like a beaver project here as well. So there's some beavers where they've obviously got them semi-wild, and we know a bit about beavers because we come across them in our local area in Devon, and we'll just put a link to that video here just so you guys can go and look at that and see the wild beavers we saw back home in Devon. Well guys, unfortunately we didn't see one osprey. We actually saw 4 of them, which was fantastic and shows the populations bouncing back slightly here in Wales. The Wildlife Trust are doing some fantastic work in this reserve. Some of the volunteers today, however, are a bit worried because they'd not seen the birds for a few hours. Typically Laura and I were quite lucky, we got there just as they arrived. The adult did leave a mullet on the nest this morning, but the birds weren't coming back, so they have fledged the nest. But the adult brought another trout this afternoon, then we had all 4 birds on the nest. Now the father here, and we can tell it's the father because they're a bit skinnier than the females and they have thinner wings, but they can still get to 1.5 to 2 kilos in weight. He's apparently a really good father and he'll always feed last, and we saw him carry the fish off until his offspring actually come back in the nest. And also if there's a juicy fish, he might take a bit of the head and leave the rest for his offspring. So the Wildlife Trust have put an artificial nest post up here to give the ospreys a little helping hand. So they put a platform down and then they built a nest on top. The birds have built the nest. But it just shows that if we can help these birds by doing things like that, especially now larger trees have been chopped down, then it can help rewild our landscape. Unfortunately, some people do persecute them though, and I was reading on the news earlier this year that someone, not at this reserve, but someone has chainsawed one of them platforms down. I don't know why people still persecute these birds. They are fish eaters and 99% of their diet are actually fish, so perhaps that's a reason they were historically persecuted. But also people collected their eggs and killed them as well. So we have a real love-hate relationship with nature in the United Kingdom. We like to call ourselves a nation of animal lovers, but at the same time we do persecute a lot of native species. Well guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and we're back at the van now. We'll put all the details of the name of the nature reserve and the location and stuff just in the description. But just before I leave you, I mentioned about the ospreys being persecuted before. But remember, these are a migratory bird, so they come over here around April time, very active in July and then leave at October. So these birds, many of them come from places such as Africa. So if we're tackling persecution, it needs to be all across their range and not just in the UK and not just in other destination countries. And with different laws and different cultures and different attitudes toward wildlife, this sometimes can make it very complex to conserve a species. But I hope you've enjoyed the video, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.